A story of freedom, trust, and the unbreakable bond. Between two wild souls, picture this: the vast, endless stretches of the American frontier, where the wind whispers secrets through the tall prairie grass, and the sun sets in shades of crimson and gold that paint the sky like a masterpiece. This is a land where freedom isn't just a word, it's a way of life. And in this untamed wilderness, two spirits are about to collide in a way that will change both of their lives forever. Our story begins with a girl named Emma. She's 16, with sun-weathered skin, calloused hands, and eyes that hold both the softness of youth and the hardness of someone who's had to grow up too fast. Emma lives on a small ranch with her father, a quiet man whose dreams dried up along with the last good rain season. Her mother? She left when Emma was just 7, chasing something she thought she'd lost. A different kind of freedom, one that didn't include the dust and the struggle of frontier life. Emma doesn't talk about her mother much. Instead, she pours all that unspoken pain into the land, into the horses they breed and train, into every sunrise she watches alone from the barn roof. She's learned that the only thing you can truly count on is yourself. Trust is a luxury she can't afford. But then one morning, everything changes. Emma is out checking the fence line on the eastern border of their property when she sees him. At first, she thinks it's a mirage. The heat does that sometimes, plays tricks on your mind. But as she shields her eyes from the glaring sun, she realizes it's real. A stallion. Not just any stallion, but the most magnificent creature she's ever laid eyes on. He's black as midnight, with a coat that seems to absorb the sunlight itself. His mane flows like dark water, wild and untamed, catching the wind with every toss of his powerful head. But it's his eyes that capture her, fierce, intelligent, and absolutely, defiantly free. This horse has never known a rope, never felt the weight of a saddle. He is the embodiment of everything wild and untouchable in this world. The locals call him Shadow. They say he's been roaming these parts for 3 years, ever since he escaped from a traveling horse trader who tried to break him with cruelty. They say he can't be caught, can't be tamed. They say he's dangerous. Men have tried, experienced wranglers with years of horse training under their belts, and every single one has failed. Some walked away with broken ribs, others with broken pride. But when Emma looks at Shadow, she doesn't see danger. She sees a mirror. She sees a creature that's been hurt, that's built walls so high that no one can climb them, that chooses solitude over the risk of being broken again. She sees herself. And in that moment, she makes a decision that everyone will call crazy. She's going to reach him. Not break him, never break him, but reach him, understand him. Maybe, just maybe, heal him. Her father, of course, thinks she's lost her mind. "Emma," he says, his voice heavy with concern and exhaustion, "that horse is wild. He'll hurt you or worse. We've got enough problems without you chasing impossible dreams." But Emma has already made up her mind. "He's not impossible, Dad. He's just scared. And maybe that's something I understand better than anyone." What she doesn't tell her father is the real reason. She needs this. She needs to prove that something wild and broken can still learn to trust. Because if Shadow can, maybe she can too. Maybe her mother's leaving doesn't mean Emma's destined to be alone forever. Maybe connection is still possible, even after betrayal. So begins the most challenging journey of Emma's life. The first week is a disaster. Emma tries approaching Shadow with an apple, with sweet words, with patience. He wants nothing to do with her. Every time she gets within 30 feet, he bolts, his powerful legs carrying him across the prairie like thunder. She comes home each evening covered in dust, her legs aching, her hope flickering but not quite extinguished. "Why do you keep trying?" her friend Maria asks one evening as they sit on the porch, watching the sun dip below the horizon. Maria doesn't understand. She's never had to prove anything to herself, never felt that desperate need to fix something. Broken because maybe, just maybe, it means you can fix yourself too. Because, Emma says quietly, giving up is easy. Anyone can give up. But fighting for something that matters? That takes courage. Week 2 brings a small breakthrough. Shadow doesn't run when Emma approaches. Instead, he stands his ground, snorting, his muscles tense and ready to flee at any moment. But he doesn't flee. It's the smallest victory, but to Emma, it feels like climbing a mountain. She sits down in the grass, a good 50 feet away, and just talks. She talks about her mother, about the ache of abandonment, about how hard it is to trust when someone you loved chose to leave. She talks until her voice is hoarse and the stars begin to appear in the darkening sky. Shadow listens. He doesn't come closer, but he listens. And that's enough for now. By week 3, Emma has established a routine. Every morning at dawn, she walks to the same spot on the eastern meadow. She brings water, sometimes an apple or carrot. She sits, she talks. She never pushes, never demands. She simply exists in Shadow's space, showing him that not all humans want to hurt him, not all of them want to take his freedom. You think he understands you? Her father asks one evening, his skepticism softened by something that might be hope. I think he feels it, Emma replies. I think he knows I'm not trying to break him. I'm just trying to show him that freedom and connection aren't opposites. They can coexist. The question is, can they? Can Shadow remain wild and free while also allowing someone into his world? Can Emma? These are the questions that haunt Emma late at night when she lies awake in bed, replaying every moment with Shadow in her mind. Because she's starting to realize that this journey isn't just about the horse anymore. It's about her. It's about whether she's brave enough to let her walls down, to risk being hurt again, to believe that connection is worth the vulnerability. Week 4 brings the moment Emma has been waiting for. She's sitting in her usual spot, talking softly about nothing in particular, when she hears it, the sound of hooves on grass getting closer. Her heart leaps into her throat, but she forces herself to stay still, to keep her breathing even. Don't scare him. Don't ruin this. Shadow approaches slowly, cautiously. 20 feet, 15 feet, 10. Emma can hear his breathing now, can smell the wild scent of prairie grass and freedom that clings to his coat. He stretches his neck out, his velvet nose reaching toward her. The moment feels suspended in time, like the entire universe is holding its breath. And then, contact. Shadow's nose brushes against her outstretched hand, so gentle it's almost imperceptible. Emma feels tears spring to her eyes. This magnificent wounded creature is choosing to trust her. Not because she forced him, not because she broke him, but because she showed him that she respected his freedom, his choice. Hey there, Shadow, she whispers, her voice thick with emotion. I've got you, and you've got me too. From that day forward, their bond deepens. Emma spends hours with Shadow, never forcing him into anything he doesn't choose. She doesn't bring a rope or a saddle. She just brings herself, her presence, her respect, her understanding. They walk together through the meadows, Shadow free to leave at any moment but choosing to stay. They sit together under the vast western sky, two wild hearts learning that trust is the bravest thing of all. But of course, life is never that simple. News of Emma's progress with Shadow spreads through the small frontier community, and it reaches the wrong ears. A wealthy rancher named Calloway who's been expanding his empire, buying up small properties like Emma's father's ranch. Calloway is a man who believes everything has a price, everything can be owned. When he hears about the black stallion that can't be tamed, he sees opportunity. He sees a prize. One day, Calloway shows up at Emma's ranch, his polished boots and expensive hat at odds with the simple, dusty world around him. I hear you've got yourself friendly with that wild horse, he says, his smile not reaching his cold eyes. I'm prepared to make you a generous offer. $500 for the stallion. That's more money than your daddy will see in 2 years. Emma feels her blood run cold. Shadow's not for sale. Everything's for sale, little girl. Your daddy's ranch is struggling. That money could help. Shadow's not mine to sell, Emma says firmly, her hands clenched into fists at her sides. He's free. He chooses to be with me, but he's not mine. He belongs to himself. Calloway's expression hardens. Then I'll take him myself. That horse has value, and I don't need your permission to catch a wild animal on open land. The threat hangs in the air like smoke. Emma knows Calloway means it. He's got men, resources, and no respect for anything that can't be bought or taken. That night, Emma lies awake, her mind racing. She could warn Shadow away, chase him off so Calloway's men can't find him. But that would mean breaking the trust they've built. It would mean using fear to control him. And that's exactly what she promised herself she'd never do. The alternative is to trust that Shadow will choose wisely, that the bond they've built is strong enough to weather the storm coming their way. It's the hardest decision she's ever had to make, to let go, to trust, to have faith in a connection that's still so new and fragile. 2 days later, Calloway makes his move. Emma is in town with her father buying supplies when she sees Calloway's men riding out toward the eastern meadow with ropes and a wagon. Her heart drops. Shadow, she runs. She runs faster than she's ever run in her life, her lungs burning, her legs screaming in protest. By the time she reaches the meadow, she can see what's happening. 5 men surrounding Shadow, trying to corner him, ropes swinging through the air. Shadow is panicking, rearing up, his powerful hooves striking out, his eyes wild with fear and betrayal. This is exactly what Emma feared. This is Shadow's worst nightmare coming true again. Humans trying to take his freedom, trying to break him through force. Stop. Emma screams, her voice raw. Get away from him. But they don't stop. Calloway himself is there, watching from horseback, satisfied. He's a wild horse on open land, girl. Perfectly legal. Emma feels desperation claw at her chest. She's losing him. She's losing Shadow to the same cruelty that broke him the first time. And then, without thinking, she does the only thing she can think of. She runs into the circle of men, putting herself between them and Shadow. You want him? She shouts. You'll have to go through me first. Emma, don't be foolish, Calloway says, but there's a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes now. Hurting a girl would be bad for business, bad for his reputation. Emma turns to Shadow. He's trembling, his eyes rolling, every muscle in his body coiled to run. She raises her hand slowly, her heart pounding so hard she can hear it in her ears. Shadow, she says softly. Shadow, it's me. I'm here. You have a choice. You've always had a choice. If you want to run, run. I won't stop you. But if you trust me, if you believe that I'll protect your freedom even when it's hard, then stay. Stay with me. The world seems to stop. The men are quiet, watching. Even Calloway is silent, waiting to see what will happen. Shadow looks at Emma. In his eyes, she can see the war raging, the instinct to run, to never trust a human again. Warring with the fragile bond they've built over weeks of patience and respect. This is the moment. This is where he decides if love is worth the risk of pain. And then slowly, Shadow takes a step toward Emma. Then another. He walks right up to her and presses his forehead against her chest, his entire body shaking. Emma wraps her arms around his neck, tears streaming down her face. He's not wild anymore, Emma says, her voice steady despite her tears. He's chosen me, and that means he's under my protection, on my father's land. You have no claim to him. It's a stretch of the truth. Shadow could leave at any moment. But Calloway doesn't know that. All he sees is a horse that's clearly bonded to this girl, and a situation that's no longer worth the trouble. This isn't over, Calloway warns as he turns his horse around. But Emma knows it is. Because Shadow made his choice. He chose trust over fear. He chose connection over absolute freedom. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to. In the days that follow, Emma's story spreads through the community. People talk about the girl who tamed the untamable horse, but Emma knows the truth. She didn't tame Shadow. She never wanted to. What she did was far more difficult and far more beautiful. She earned his trust. She showed him that vulnerability isn't weakness, that choosing to love doesn't mean losing yourself, that freedom and connection can exist together. Shadow still runs wild sometimes. Emma never puts a rope on him unless he nods his consent, never rides him unless he stands still and invites her onto his back. Their relationship is built on mutual respect, on choice, on the understanding that love isn't about ownership or control. It's about being strong enough to let someone be free and trusting that they'll choose you anyway. Emma's father watches all of this with quiet amazement. One evening, as they sit on the porch watching Shadow graze in the meadow, he says, "You taught that horse something important. But I think he taught you something too." Emma nods. "He taught me that just because someone hurt you doesn't mean you have to stay broken. He taught me that trust is scary, but it's also the only way to really live. And he taught me that the bravest thing you can do is let yourself be vulnerable with someone who's earned it. Her father reaches over and squeezes her hand. Your mother leaving? That wasn't your fault. You know that, right? Emma feels the old ache in her chest, but for the first time it doesn't consume her. I know, and I know that her choices don't define my worth. Shadow helped me see that. He was broken too, but he didn't let it make him cruel. He just needed someone to show him that the world still had kindness in it. As the sun sets over the prairie, painting the sky in those familiar shades of crimson and gold, Emma realizes that this journey was never really about Shadow at all. It was about her learning to trust again, to believe in connection again, to understand that walls might keep you safe, but they also keep you lonely. Shadow lifts his head from grazing and looks at Emma. Even from a distance, she can feel the bond between them, invisible but unbreakable, built on weeks of patience, respect, and the brave choice to trust. He could run at any moment. He could disappear into the vast frontier and never come back. But he doesn't. He stays, not because he has to, but because he wants to. And isn't that the most beautiful kind of love? The kind that's freely given, not demanded or taken. Emma stands up and walks toward Shadow. He meets her halfway, and she rests her forehead against his, closing her eyes and breathing in the moment. Thank you, she whispers, for being brave enough to trust me, for teaching me that I could be brave too. Shadow nickers softly, as if to say, we saved each other, and maybe that's the truth of it. Maybe that's the truth of all meaningful connections. They're not about one person fixing another, or one person completing another. They're about two broken souls choosing to be brave together, choosing to tear down their walls and trust that the vulnerability is worth it. The frontier is still wild and untamed. The sun still sets in crimson and gold. But Emma is different now. She's learned that freedom doesn't mean being alone. It means having the courage to choose connection while still maintaining your authentic self. It means building relationships based on respect and choice, not ownership and control. Shadow is her teacher, her mirror, her reminder that healing is possible, that trust is worth the risk, and that the wildest hearts often hold the deepest capacity for love, if you're patient enough, brave enough, gentle enough to earn it. As darkness falls over the prairie and the stars begin to emerge in the vast western sky, Emma walks back to the house with Shadow following at her side, free to leave at any moment but choosing to stay. And in that choice, in that freely given loyalty and trust, Emma finds something she thought she'd lost forever. Hope. Hope that broken things can heal. Hope that walls can come down. Hope that even in a world that can be cruel and unpredictable, there's still room for connection, for trust, for love that's freely chosen rather than demanded. Shadow taught her all of this. And in return, Emma gave him the one thing he needed most, proof that not all humans will hurt you, that some will respect your freedom, honor your choices, and love you exactly as you are. Their story doesn't end here, of course. This is just the beginning. There will be more challenges, more moments where trust is tested, more times when Emma will have to choose between safety and vulnerability. But now she knows she doesn't have to face them alone. She has Shadow, not as a possession, but as a partner, as a friend, as a reminder that the bravest thing you can do is let your wild heart love. So now I want to ask you something, because this story isn't just about Emma and Shadow. It's about all of us. We all have walls. We all have wounds from times we trusted and got hurt. We all have that voice in our head that says it's safer to stay closed off, to never risk vulnerability again. But here's what I want to know. Have you ever met your Shadow? Have you ever encountered someone or something that challenged you to tear down your walls and trust again? What did you do? Did you run, or did you stay and fight for the connection? And here's the deeper question. Do you think Emma made the right choice by never using force with Shadow? In a world that often values control and quick results, she chose patience and respect. She let Shadow come to her on his own terms, even though it was slower and harder. Was she right? Or are there times when we need to take control for someone's own good? I really want to hear your thoughts on this. Drop a comment below and tell me, 1. Have you ever had to earn someone's trust the way Emma earned Shadow's? What was that like? 2. Do you think true freedom and deep connection can coexist? Or do we always have to choose between independence and intimacy? 3. If you were in Emma's position when Calloway's men came, what would you have done? Would you have trusted Shadow to make the right choice, or would you have chased him away to protect him? These aren't easy questions, and I don't think there are right or wrong answers. But I think they're questions worth thinking about. Because at the end of the day, we're all just trying to figure out how to be brave enough to love without losing ourselves in the process. Emma and Shadow's story reminds us that the wildest hearts often need the gentlest hands. That patience is more powerful than force. That respect builds stronger bonds than control ever could. And that sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is stand still and trust that love will find its way to you, as long as you're willing to be vulnerable enough to receive it. So what's your wild heart story? Share it in the comments. Let's build a community of people who believe that trust is worth the risk, that healing is possible, and that the most beautiful connections are the ones built on freedom and choice. And if you enjoyed this story, if it made you feel something or think about something differently, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Every week we're sharing stories about courage, connection, and the human spirit. Stories that remind us that we're all in this together, that we all carry wounds, and that we all have the capacity to heal, especially when we're brave enough to let someone in. Until next time. Remember, your wild heart is not something to tame or break. It's something to honor, to protect, and to share with those who've earned the right to see it. Be brave, be vulnerable, and trust that the right connections will find you when you're ready. See you in the next story.